Alright, so today we're going to be transferring this computer, all the hardware, minus a couple things, into a new case. We're going into a Corsair 5000D. Pretty simple and straightforward. We're just improving not only the airflow, but like the overall hardware setup. We're adding some new memory. We are going to be replacing some of the fans, and we're going to be adding additional fans, and we're going from a Noctua air cooler over to a H150i liquid cooler here for the CPU. Let's see here. Yeah, so it should be interesting. Some of these fans are going to move over, some of them will not. There's fans currently in the box in this case. We'll get those pulled down. We're not going to be adding more fans than what the computer can support, and I'll make sure that it's configured correctly as far as airflow goes. So yeah, let's just dig into this. Let's get this stuff out. Looks like there's some bent panels on this thing, which is interesting. This is just gonna suck to get this stuff out of here because it's in here so tight. This guy had a pretty decent setup for the amount of space. For all this stuff, it's tight. Let's see if I can't get this card out. There we go. Alright. Video card is a it's a 3080 non-TI. Put a nice little tweet about this here in a second. Alright, let's get all these zip ties cut off of here. Whoever did this before did a pretty good job. Pretty sure it was me. This was definitely me because I replaced this power supply. Oh man. Yeah, I remember this thing now. Yes, I have, Emily. Long time ago. All these unplugged. doesn't want to come out right now. All right. Get this CPU cooler out of here. This thing takes up. Just doing some paperwork today, Emily. Ryzen 9, right? Alright, so now that that's all updated and everything's out, unfortunately this guy's no longer going to be using like the really good knock to a cooler. I love everything about knock to a coolers except for these. These things are actually, okay, switch over to this. These things here, these things are actually a pain in the butt. I mean, they do what they're supposed to do, but they're aggravating as heck. Those out of there. I think I'm going to try and get this power supply out of here next. To make life a little easier. Alright, let's get this motherboard out of here. Got one more screw. Do you remember how to use that?
I'll ask you when I'm ready to.
Alright, so as far as the fans I want out of here, it's going to be the back fan and then the top fans. So let's get these guys out of here. So this one should be a save because this is one of the Corsairs. Doesn't say which one it is, unfortunately. I was hoping it was going to say like SL or ML, but it does not. Corsair Commander out of there, because we can reuse that. Nice fan splitter that we can use if we need it. We'll leave the NZXT stuff in here. This is that same, like, this here is the same control board that I had go up in flames a few weeks ago. And all of these cables are going to stay here. And there we go. Now this case, I'm gonna kind of put it back together a little bit in case the guy wants to do something with it. Alright, and then we'll give this back to him, and then we'll pull the new one out of the box and get to building. Alright, first things first. This is going back in the box. We're not going to crack this guy. I'm going to remove these fans. Take this back plate off. This guy's going to have an almost all Corsair build. This is going to be yet another computer where I put a lot of effort into doing cable management and no one will ever see it. We're going to be removing this panel that's in here. Ooh, that's not good. This thing is taking a hit. This whole... Hopefully this isn't going to be like game breaking for this guy. But that's not the shape that should be. Hopefully nothing else is deformed. Doesn't look like it. It's crazy how light these cases get when you don't have anything in them. Alright, let's get these fans that we're not going to use out of here. Yeah, that's nothing else seems to be bent or askew, so that's I think it'll be fine. See what that's attached to. Get that out of there. Okay, we're going to do a nice top mount radiator setup on this one. Okay. I'm not going to be using this fan controller at all, so I'm going to remove that. I'll put it back in the box. Now, just keep in mind that these fans are good to keep around as a spare in case you ever need one. So you don't just, like, throw them out. So if you ever have a fan die, you'll have the fans that this came with that'll be able to, like, supplement the ones that that has gone bad. There we go. So don't get rid of them. Just, you don't need them in the case right off the bat. Okay, so like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna remove this because we're gonna replace this with the Commander Pro, which this guy will have 2 of. And this is just a dedicated fan splitter that comes with this case that you can use or choose not to use. And this will go with those fans. Okay. As I said, one of the things I'm going to be doing, I'm actually going to be removing this panel. So that we can have the air, we're going to pull air from here and we're going to pull air from here and it's all going to go out the top and the back. So let's get that out. This is always a little bit like aggravating. I know I'm gonna have to take out quite a few screws to do this, and I just need to remember where they all go. Screws back in. So we're gonna have 2 intakes on here to just get as much cool air in here as possible. All right, let's start getting this motherboard mounted in here, and then actually, you know what? Let's see. So we're gonna put the all-in-one cooler is gonna go at the top. And because of that, I think we need to install that first. Or actually, let's not install it. Let's just trying to figure out the best way to do this. We're gonna assemble this cooler first. And then we'll get the mounting hardware attached to the board as well. Hey, look, not one-time use plastic. There you go. And of course, this is the bad boy with a screen, and we only have 2 USB headers down here. So we're gonna have to pay a lot of attention into what all needs to go into the USB header, because usually you have one USB header dedicated to the front panel, and you have another one dedicated to like an accessory like this. So we're gonna have to see if we can daisy chain these guys together. Hopefully, that's usually what this cable is specifically for. So this is it's actually a USB header splitter, which is kind of nice. So it looks just like a fan splitter, goes into your USB socket, and then USB 2.0 splitter. Yeah, Holden, it's rough. It really is rough. But like I said, like you can either try and, because that's what this is, you can try and get it back into the socket and then get this down here, lock it in, and then try and just give it a gentle twist. And if that doesn't work, you're gonna have to pry, man. And I know that sucks, but you're gonna end up having to pry a little bit. But and you want to use a plastic tool, something that's designed to break before the actual CPU itself is designed to break. Man, we are having like just a lot of like little hit and miss things going on here today. Like as far as quality controls, right out of the box, this guy's got some. We have some. Which way do we gotta go? We got some bent fins on the radiator, which, in all honesty, isn't that big of a deal. But like the fact that like we're pulling stuff out of the box new and we're seeing a little bit of damage on it is worrying. Let's see if I can straighten these out a little bit, because this stuff is very, very soft metal. Not perfect, but it is better. Actually, quite a few bent fins on here. I wonder if this was like end of a run. Let's see what the other side looks like. Other side looks fine. Here are the fans that are going on this cooler. Here are the fans that are going on the rest of the case. Like we can see, like the fins aren't really what I'm talking about. Like the color of the plastic is quite different, and the way that these are lit is going to be different. So we're going to end up having some different colors on these guys. Alright, so this is the way our build's gonna go. We're gonna have these cables facing me. These are all gonna be extraction. Like 9 out of 10 fans, the easiest way to tell which way the airflow is gonna go is wherever the supports are is considered the back, and air flows across that. So this would be, the air is going to come in this direction and it's going to leave this direction. It's a quick little thing. And as always, if you're mounting these through metal, always use your washers. Always. Let's get all these screws separated, and then we can start putting these guys together. Alright, and then these guys are just going to line up in here. Okay, so those are on there. Let's next look at our CPU mounting solution. This is going to be Intel. And this is for the AM4, which I hope, yeah, that bracket should be fine. Alright, let's get this. Extra thermal paste here on the side. Get that off as best we can. Basically anything extra you want to get off of there, keep this socket as devoid of extra detritus as we can. Alright, so now we have an AM4 socket. This is Threadripper. Just gonna thread these in here. Alright, so that, and then now that those 4 posts are on there, on the actual socket itself, we're going to have to replace these guys, which is actually a pretty simple and straightforward process. Careful not to let the plastic come off of there. We want to keep that thermal compound that's on there as much as possible without having it rub all over other stuff. So we're going to take this off. And then these, actually, do it one step farther. The actual screen itself for this comes off. And then these just pull out. And when we do that, what we're going to do, just slot that in there, pull the other one off. Slot the other one in there. We're going to take this, we're going to just cent that on there right now so it doesn't get messed up. I'm going to move the motherboard a little bit. Make sure these are all the way tightened on there. Move this out of the way temporarily. We are going to be putting 32 gigs of memory in there, Emily. Alright, so let's get this installed in the case now. And we're gonna set up these screws to make this a little bit easier to do. Yep, I recommend for most people 16, and if you have a gaming PC, I recommend 32. Any more than that is almost a waste of money. Unless you're doing some sort of rendering. And immediately I'm realizing I did this backwards because I need this on that side. So we're going to undo all the screwing and just rotate each of these fans. And you'll be able to see through this nice little cutout here. And with these screws, you just want to mount them so that the screw heads are flush with the rubber grommets. You don't want to bulge the rubber. Now, I always recommend attaching these fans like before you put the radiator in and before you put the motherboard in, because otherwise you'll end up in the situation where you're going to try and attach screws, like these long screws, and you're going to be dealing with trying to like work around the motherboard, work in tight spaces, whereas this makes it nice and easy. You have all of these screws attached before you get super going with it. So again, we're gonna be this guy's gonna be mounted up this way. So now make sure our cords are out of the way. Line up our screw holes here. Let's see if I can remember to adjust that back. You get one of these screws in there relatively well. The assembly I have. Just get a couple of these screws in there and tighten them up. I tell the customer to upgrade their memory. Just make sure these guys are nice and secure. Use all of them, and again, make sure that you use the washers 100% of the time. All right, so now that's in there. Remember to hydrate. All right, lay this down. This is going to end up going onto the motherboard. I have to do a little bit of cable management with this. It's going to end up going like this, or actually it has to go like this. So it's going to go like that onto there, and then what we'll do is we will make sure these cables are managed accordingly. So let's get that out of the way. Get these through the cable management holes that are on the back. Let me refocus this motherboard. And it's at this moment I will mention, if your motherboard does not have an integrated I/O shield, 100% make sure you put the I/O shield in, otherwise you will, like, it goes in this little slot back here. If you forget to put this in, you're gonna have to take the whole motherboard out, or you'll just live without having an I/O shield in your computer forever. We line that up, and now you can see like what I was kind of getting at. Let me see if I can get an okay view of this here. So if you were to, this is upside down, but if you were to try and put those screws in after putting the motherboard in, like this, I'm going to lay this flat on top of this. You can see that these screws are actually below this, and that makes it basically impossible to actually put those screws in like at all. So that's why I always recommend trying to build the cooler outside of the case like this and then installing it. So next we are going to install the screws for the motherboard. So that's in there nice and secure. And I know in here there was a I do with you? We did get a pack. We got a box of this. Box from Corsair. Ooh, we actually got some cool stuff. This is a 90-degree for a USB 3 slot. So it slots into the motherboard. So here, so that you can either have the cable come up this way, or you can have the cable come directly into it. So on a motherboard where this would be sitting over here, which is typically where this is very, very handy. That's a cool little thing to hang on to. Anything else? This is a standoff for the door. And we have some more Velcro zip ties. Like a lot more. That we are not going to use because we don't use Velcro in this house. And this is what I've been talking about the whole time. Normally when Corsair sends this stuff, they send these in individual one-time use bags, which they did, but they put it all in a resealable little Ziploc bag. So now all of these tiny little screws can just go right back into this bag, including all the screws from the cooler that we never used. So we can drop all of these guys in here. And then all of the screws for the computer that we're not using will all end up in one bag in one place. Alright, now we just need to figure out, we got fan screws, we're not going to need these, we're not going to need this standoff, and we're not going to need that USB 390. And then we have, it also comes with a couple extra standoffs as well. And then we have these micro screws, which are for something else. To figure out what they're actually used for. But this should be these screws. How are we looking on battery on these guys? And these screws don't actually thread very deep, which is fine. Just gotta make sure we got all of our holes filled. And in all honesty, you don't need more than just the, just like probably 4, 1 in each corner. But I like populating all the spots. One thing that I'm noticing that's going to be a pain right now is going to be getting this cable routed for the power, because it has to come up this way and then somehow squeeze into this little slot here and then get plugged into these guys. That's going to be a tight fit. That's what she said. Alright, let's keep getting these screws installed. Alright, our screws are in there. And we're going to take these guys, we're going to take all of these screws and we're going to put all these screws into this nice handy dandy Ziploc, little Ziploc bag now. Because we are done with them. And if we need them in the future, we'll be able to find them because they'll all be in this bag. We have, now that we have the motherboard mounted, we're going to remove this memory that's no longer going to be used, which I literally just put in here for this guy. Which again, all of the stickers have not been pulled off of. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to put, I believe this is going to be only 2 sticks. And we need to populate the 4th and the 2nd slot. So we're going from 4 sticks down to 2. And more than likely, I'm going to put this extra memory in there as well. So this guy's going to end up having more memory. So the one thing I need to check is I need to see the speeds to see how much speed we're going to be giving up on these. So if I were to put this old memory back in here, we're going from 3600 down to 32. That's an acceptable loss. It's not like 2600. So you're losing 400 megahertz on these things, but you're gaining another 16, which is arguably more beneficial. So let me pull. There we go. Gotta do the peel. All right, so now we're going to attach this guy. Yep, and that's correct. Tilt. Hello. Thank you. Make sure this plate is elevated slightly so I can get these all threaded on here. Now I get a lot of questions about this, like how tight do I need to make these things? You tighten the screws until they stop spinning, and then you don't over tighten them past there. So, like that one, that's done spinning. You stop. Done spinning, stop. Done spinning, stop. Done spinning, and then you stop. And we need to have to loosen this up a little. It looks like the bracket isn't sitting on there correct. I need to rotate this bracket ever so slightly. There you go. Now it's square. Not square before. This guy will go on here. And these cables get routed to the back. All right. So we'll get this fan routed back here. Alright, so that's mounted. So now we have this rear fan in there. Let's do the front fans. And then we'll do the rear fans. Alright. Let's get these three mounted up here. So we want to have these set so that they're pulling air into the computer. Alright, so those are the front ones. Now let's make sure that these get properly cable managed, because there's actual cable management holes back here, and I just need to make sure that this so we're gonna have to look at that, because I might end up having to take this panel off to manage those properly. 3080 is better. That's all it comes down to, Emily. I think we're going to use this gap right here to run these cables. I didn't say the 3060 was bad, Emily. I just said that the 3080 is better. So yeah, what we'll do is we're gonna run these cables through this gap, and then we'll pull them back through. Yep, the 1650 is worse than the 3060. Yeah, so this, we're gonna run these cables through these gaps, and we're gonna do that for all of these, and then they will. Let's do a quick test before I do this. Let's see how well this is actually gonna go. Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't think it's crushing those cables at all. It's definitely making contact with them, but I don't think it's going to do anything negative to them. Alright. And then all of these cables are going to come out here. So the Corsair Commander is going to have to go somewhere right about there. But that actually works fine. I think we're going to be good there. And we have all those cables hidden. Alright, let's get all these LL120s on here. This all in, I mean, this is probably at a $4,000 computer, if I had to guess. This one, like, this is like basically all I'm really doing is transferring this computer from one case to another, adding some new memory, and then adding some additional fans. So, like just trying to come up with prices for these off the top of my head, because it's a 5950X, which is about $400. With the motherboard that this has, we'll probably get to like $800. The memory put us about $1,100. The GPU, which is a 3080, so say $1,800. Power supply will bump us over to $2,000. The 2 hard drives this has, one is a 1 terabyte, so that's probably at $2,300, $2,400. Oh, that's right. Add another $350, so $2,700 for the CPU cooler this thing has, because it's got its LCD screen. So I'd say about $3,000, like just under $3,000 for this computer if you were to build it. The thing that's really going to stand out about this when we get in there is the Corsair Commander is going to like see all these fans as different like models, so it's gonna look strange. Despite all of them being Corsair fans, they're all gonna have different color spectrum stuff. Alright, fans installed. We're gonna come up and over. It'll be the same as these guys, so let's go ahead and do the same thing I did with those. Get them all zipped together. Alright, so that's all of our front fan cables run, and now we will need to, we're going to have to pull these guys out. That one, and then there's one more which I'm going to have to fish for. Like it's hard to make this many wires look good without making like the cable management almost impossible to deal with. Like if you need to remove a single component, I need to get the giant thumbprint off of this. All right, so we have this one, and then we have to do the SATA power. All right, so now that's wired up, that's wired up. All right, we got to put this back in here. All right, we're gonna put the hard drive in here and then pray. All right, time to install the last piece. Okay, I'm gonna shift one. It's a mild stormtrooper build. In we go. Excuse the hair. All right, now we just got to get our power cables, and then we are done. All right, now we just pull these back a little bit because we don't necessarily want them directly over the fan slot on the GPU. All right, and we're about to be ready for that first power on, and hopefully this thing does not go up in flames with all these cables. I think we are good. All right, first power on. Let's see what we get here. All new fans, whole new setup. 2.5 hours later. We got power to the motherboard. All right. We got 2 fans that do not have RGB for some reason. Just have to tell the commander how many fans it actually has. And look at that. All right. Now let's get all the RGB working on this bad boy. There you go. And that's what this ends up looking like once it's all up and running. Everything is being detected correctly. We can put the back on. think this guy is going to be good to go. And like I said, I do all that work, and then this is what you see. And then finally, guy can do the peels himself when he gets home. All done. Hey, thanks for watching that video. You can check out some of the other videos for more tech-related content. And if you want to catch me live, I am on Twitch at twitch.tv/SpecVengeance, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So come hang out, chat, and maybe learn a thing or two. Thanks for watching.